are American. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's council meeting for Monday the 27th of November 2017. Can we all stand for the opening prayer and acknowledgement? Thanks. Lord, we ask that you guide us in our decision-making, protect us in the community we serve from all that is evil, and strengthen our unity for the welfare of the city. Amen. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as traditional custodians of the land that we meet upon today, and pay my respects to the elders both past, present and future, for they hold the memories, culture, tradition and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that contribute to our community. Thank you. CM2 recording and streaming of meeting. This council meeting is being webcast and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to being recorded and webcast. Please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this council meeting that you are respectful to other people and use appropriate language. AlburyCity accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. An audio recording will be made for administrative purposes. Conflict of interest declarations, CM3, received by the Chair, and disclosure of political donations. I have two conflict of interest declarations from councillors. The first one being from Councillor Glacken, a non-pecuniary significant. Brief description of your conflict is location of the family dwelling. It is council meeting CM 14.2 and CM 14.3, and the action is to leave the room and not participate in any discussion. The second one is from Councillor Vanderven, non-pecuniary significant. Description is I own land in Hamilton Valley close to the subject site, and the secretary of the bowling club is a permanent casual employee of my business. The number is CM 18.2, land acquisition opportunity, a confidential item on the council agenda, and the action is to leave the chamber. Thank you, councillors. Mr. Zachnich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This advice is to the council meeting regarding the legislative requirements for disclosures of political donations. The Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, Section 147, requires a person submitting planning applications or submissions regarding a planning application to disclose any reportable political donation and or gifts to any local councillor or employee of council. Reportable political donations include those of or above $1,000. The disclosure statement forms are available on Council's website or from the Customer Service Centre, must be lodged in accordance with the Act. The forms are also available at the back of the chamber during meetings. In dealing with development applications, councillors need to take into account specific matters contained in the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. Accordingly, the provisions of Section 79C1 of that Act are set out in the Council Officer's reports, detailing issues to be considered. The Local Government Act 1993, Section 375A, requires that a division be called whenever a motion for a planning decision is put at a meeting of the council or a council committee. Planning decision means a decision made in the exercise of a function of council under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, including a decision relating to a development application, an environmental planning instrument, a development control plan or a development contribution plan under that Act, but not including the making of an order under Division 2A of Part 6 of that Act. Matters appearing in the Planning Development Committee meeting minutes which require a planning decision to be made will be dealt with separately and immediately following the motion for the adoption of the Planning Development Committee meeting minutes. In respect to these matters, motions for a planning decision put before Council will be considered a division and recorded in accordance with Section 375A of the Local Government Act. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Zachnich. Thank you, councillors. CM4, we have no apologies. CM5, the Merrill Minute, there isn't a Merrill Minute. CM6, action plans, 6.1 to 6.4. Happy to move them as a block, councillors. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you to move items 6A, 6B, 6C and 6D in block, noting that they are actions complete for noting, actions in progress and long-term issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Councillor Cameron.
I'd like to second Councillor Glacken's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Glacken, did you wish to speak to those at all?
No, thank you.
Thank you. There being no further question or debate, I'm happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. Minutes of council meeting held on Monday the 23rd of October 2017 at 6 p.m. Thank you. Councillor Doxey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to move that the minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, 23 October 2017 at 6 p.m. be confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor Doxey. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Doxey, do you wish to speak to that at all?
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Being no further debate or question, I'm happy to move that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Reports from Council Committee CM8. Reports from the Planning and Development Committee meeting held on Monday the 13th of November 2017 at 6 p.m. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. To move the minutes in a block with the exception of PDC 7.2.
The recommendations on the board, Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Okay, I do apologise. That the recommendations included in the report from the Planning and Development Committee meeting held on Monday the 13th of November be adopted with the exception of 7.1, draft amendment to Albury Infrastructure Contributions Plan 2014, and item 7.2, revised planning proposal Willow Bank East Albury, consideration of submissions with such matters being dealt with separately. Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Councillor Doxey.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, did you wish to speak to the minutes?
No, thank you.
Thank you. There being no further questions or debate, I'm happy to put those minutes. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. In relation to PDC 7.1 draft amendment to Albury Infrastructure Contributions Plan 2014. Thank you, councillors. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Vandervan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If I find the relevant documentation. PDC 7.1, that the committee recommends to Council A receive and note the contents of the report. B, prepare and publicly exhibit a draft amendment to section 3.14.3 of the Albury Infrastructure Contributions Plan 2014 as outlined below. 3.14.3, who may provide a cost summary report. The following persons are approved by the council to provide an estimate of the proposed cost of carrying out development. Dot point where the applicant's initial estimate of the proposed cost of carrying out the development is less than $3 million, any building industry professional, or dot point where the applicant's initial estimate of the proposed cost of carrying out the development is $3 million or more, a quantity surveyor who is a registered member of the Australian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, and C, should no objections be received during the public exhibition period, then the proposed amendment be finalised without further report to council.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Stutchbury. Vandervan, sorry. Councillor Stutchbury.
Second that, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Vandervan, did you wish to open debate on that item?
No, Mr Mayor, it's fairly self-explanatory.
Thank you. There being no questions or debate, we have a division here, councillors, so when we vote, please leave your hands in the air until we do the count. All those in favour? We have Councillor Stutchbury, Councillor Doxey, Councillor Cameron, Councillor Mack, Councillor Con, Councillor King, Councillor Glacken, Councillor Thurley and Councillor Vandervan. The motion is carried. Thank you. PDC 7.2, the revised planning proposal Willowbank Road, East Albury, consideration of submissions. Councillor Con.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the committee recommends to council that the planning proposal seeking to rezone land being part lot 156 DP 753326, part lot 2 DP 999814 and part lot 37 DP 1007315 Willowbank Road, East Albury be refused due to the proximity of the land to the Murray Riverine corridor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Con. A seconder, thanks. Do we have a seconder for that motion, councillors? Councillor King.
Yeah, through Mr Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you. Councillor Connor, I have a speaker against. You are happy to open debate.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, we've had significant debate about this proposal over a number of years, and I don't want to revisit all of the issues that were discussed. Some of those were traffic issues, whether or not we need more industrial land in Albury, and a number of environmental issues. Tonight, I just wanted to focus on one issue, which is our Murray River. If you read the Albury 2030 community vision for Albury, it says we are a nationally significant regional city that is vibrant, innovative, connected and inspired by its culture, environment and location on the Murray River. It's there in our vision statement. Anyone who's been to any community event where our mayor has spoken has heard him say that Albury is the jewel in the crown of the Murray River. And the report from staff that we have in front of us to consider tonight clearly states, and I'd like to quote with your permission, Mr Mayor, the proximity of the subject land to the Murray River and residential estates carries some inherent risks with regard to impact on the surrounding environment and wider community. The risk I'm particularly concerned about is the risk of groundwater contamination to the Murray River. Yes, the property is behind a levee bank. That levee bank's there to protect the property from the river. It's not there to protect the river from the property. Yes, there are a number of conditions as a part of this development, so that risk is unlikely but significant, and I honestly don't believe it's one worth taking. I don't think that there's any benefit to the wider community from this proposal that could possibly justify the risk, and we could get equal benefit from any industrial development anywhere else in the city without having to take on environmental risks like this. So I oppose the proposal. Thank you.
And you support the motion?
And I support the motion.
Thank you. Okay, speaker against. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be succinct also. The threat to anyone that believes that there is a greater threat to the groundwater table from having a light industrial development, which would have landscaping, which would have hard surfaces, which would have a higher standard or the highest possible standard of stormwater treatment, and a significant amount of water that is discharged into the sewage system, not into the stormwater system in the first place. Anyone who thinks that that's a worse ecological outcome than allowing rain to fall on open paddocks, as we do now, paddocks that have no piping, paddocks that have no sewage, paddocks that have no stormwater diversion, paddocks that have been contaminated from many years of agricultural chemical use, that where currently the rain falls on them freely, soaks through that contamination and into the water table. Anyone that would advocate that the existing situation is a better ecological outcome than what is being proposed by this development, I don't believe can be reasoned with. It is manifestly obvious that a controlled development, particularly of light industry, which is at a premium, light industry near an interchange with the Hume Highway is at a premium in the city. All industrial land is not the same. There are three distinct types of industrial land and they're all different. And what's being proposed here is light development predominantly near an interchange. That is at a premium. Those who say that there's plenty of industrial land in Albury, put it somewhere else, simply are ignoring reality. So I will be voting against the motion before us, and I foreshadow that if this motion fails, I will move another motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I have no speakers for at this point. I'll take a speaker against. Councillor Vandervan.
Look, most of it's been said by Councillor Cameron. Thank you, Mr Mayor, for the opportunity. I think one of the arguments against this, and whilst we've just been talking about the proximity of the land to the Murray River and corridor, one of the arguments being put in this whole debate is that we've got enough industrial land. Well, sorry, that's not for us to decide. It's the same as us making a decision on a development application because somebody wants to put another restaurant in. And there's already 7 or 8 restaurants in the proximity. That's not up for us to decide. If somebody wants to develop some industrial land, that's up to him to take the risk with that land and develop it and see what the buyer or the market will bear as far as how long it takes him to sell the land. So, from my perspective, that's a complete furphy. The other issues Councillor Cameron has talked about the environment and about the protections that we've got for the environment, which we were very strong in making sure that the staff address those issues. So I'll be voting against this and hopefully supporting an alternative motion if this one fails.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderman. I have no questions or further speakers against, so I'm happy to ask Councillor Con to close debate.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just briefly, I would appreciate the opportunity to rebut some of the points made by the two speakers against. Firstly, with regards to any previous damage done by agricultural use, what is being proposed for this land is agriculture, produce industry, plus general industrial, plus light industrial, as opposed to the current agricultural produce industry. We can't undo the damage that's been done in the past, but we certainly can prevent more from happening in the future, and I believe that that's important. Secondly, with regard to the amount of industrial land available next to an intersection, I believe this council recently approved 16 light industrial lots across the road from this development that didn't carry the same environmental risk, that weren't connected to the river via groundwater. So I'm pleased that we're able to provide that for the community, and we obviously don't need to provide more light industrial lots in the same area, and particularly not taking on this risk. And finally, to Councillor Vandervan, that this is not a restaurant. Council is not responsible for developing restaurants, nor should we be, but it is the job of council to plan zoning for the long-term future of the city, and to do so in a carefully planned way, not lot by lot. It is our job to consider this very carefully and to consider whether it's the right thing to do for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Con. So I'm happy to put that motion, and we have a division on this issue, councillors. All those in favour? It's Councillor Mack, Councillor Con and Councillor King. Those against? Councillor Stutchbury, Councillor Doxey, Councillor Cameron, Councillor Glacken, Councillor Thurling, Councillor Vandervan. The motion is lost. Councillor Cameron, you had an alternate motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's rather lengthy, but I've been known to talk a bit. That Council A, receive and note the report. B, having exhibited the planning proposal revised rezoning for industrial purposes Willowbank Road, East Albury revised planning proposal, and having regard to the submissions received, resolved to endorse the revised planning proposal as amended, subject to those recommendations contained in Table 1 attached to this report listed below. That the proposed land zoning map be amended by replacing the proposed IN1 general industrial zone as exhibited with the IN2 light industrial zone. That 2, amend Schedule 1, additional permitted uses by designating the subject land being Part Lot 156 DP 753326, Part Lot 2, DP 9998814, and Part Lot 37 DP 1007315 Willowbank Road, East Albury, for the additional purposes of general industry and agricultural produce industry. 3, that an additional clause be included in Part 7 additional local provisions of the Albury Local Environment Plan 210, requiring the preparation of site-specific development control plan provisions for the subject land that details 3.1. The establishment and ongoing monitoring of baseline groundwater conditions inclusive of works outlined as follows. A, the construction of a second monitoring buoy in the east or southeast parts of the private subject land to assist the establishment of baseline conditions, and B, provide a list of relevant groundwater parameters as baseline groundwater quality conditions of the site. 3.2, an audit of infrastructure requirements to confirm works costs and sequencing for the provision and or upgrade of necessary infrastructure, including reticulated water, sewage, drainage, road network and other infrastructure. 3.3, provision for any amendments to the AlburyCity Infrastructure Contributions Plan to facilitate identified infrastructure. 3.4, investigation and identification of any existing Aboriginal cultural heritage resources, inclusive of establishment of appropriate conditions on site to determine appropriate management and mitigation measures. 3.5, an overall landscaping strategy that details landscaping requirements to assist in providing appropriate interface outcomes with surrounding land that both improves the general aesthetics and protects and assists visual amenity. And 3.6, detailed urban design controls that establish the future outcomes and expectations for the development of the site, including minimum building setback of 100 metres from the River Murray. C, furnish a copy of this report and other relevant information to the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment in accordance with Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, EP&A Act, and advise the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment that the Council has complied with sections 56, 57 and 58 of the EP&A Act in relation to public involvement in the preparation of the revised planning proposal. And D, request that the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment undertake the appropriate actions to secure the makings of the amendment to the Albury Local Environment Plan 2010 as amended to the extent that it relates to the land in Willowbank Road, East Albury, being part lot 156 DP 753326, part lot DP 9999814 and part lot 37 DP 1007315.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron, for that very lengthy motion. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Happy to second Councillor Cameron's recommendation as a motion.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Councillor Cameron, do you have breath in you to continue?
I have virtually unlimited wind. Thank you.
I believe that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. People may recognise that the motion that I've moved is the original report, which was at committee. But what I will say, and I would encourage my fellow councillors, is that I'm willing to accept any reasonable amendments to further improve the proposition that I'm moving now. So I would encourage councillors, if they have amendments, to move them, and I may well accept them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I'll have lights on. Councillor Stutchbury, did you have any amendments you wish to add to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two amendments that I'm hoping that Councillor Cameron might accept. Just briefly, this is clearly a controversial issue with a lot of public interest, and there, I think, ultimately will be no right or wrong answer. But what I would like to propose is my first amendment relates to the most easterly part of the subject land, which is lot 156 DP 753326, and I would like to propose an amendment that general industry be excluded from that particular lot. So that lot would be, if this amendment is accepted, that lot can be used for light industry, but not for general industry. This would have the potential to increase the distance from nearby residences to light industry, general industry, up to about 190 metres. So that's my first amendment.
Yes, Councillor Stutchbury, are there other amendments?
My second
I'm just
amendment.
thinking that the first one could be potentially included as a part lot in the point 2.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
If it's Councillor Stutchbury's amendment to include that, to change paragraph 2
Yep.
to read something like amend Schedule 1, additional permitted uses by designating the subject land being part lot 2 DP 999814 and part lot 37 DP 1007315. So to give effect to your amendment by omission, as it were, I'd like to ask it through you to the appropriate member of staff if that would achieve the outcome.
Mr. Keys.
Mr. Mayor, that would certainly exclude that land from that additional provision enabling general industry or agricultural produce industry over that land.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
That being the case, I'd happily accept that amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, are you happy to accept that?
Yes, noting the comments of the staff, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Stutchbury, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, my second amendment relates to stormwater runoff. Clearly, a major concern amongst opponents of this rezoning was the ultimate fate of stormwater runoff as relates to potential future light industry development, given the proximity of 80 to 100 metres from the River Murray of any potential future development. So I would like to propose an amendment, if you would, Councillor Cameron, that we add to the list of 6 items under 3, item 3.7, that any future DCP includes specific stormwater management provisions based on water-sensitive urban design principles, including rain gardens and swales, to provide natural filters as an additional mechanism to other site-specific requirements, including triple interceptors to remove grease, dust, particulates from runoff, similar to the approach adopted by Council for the East Albury Industrial Precinct. I think that probably the first sentence of that would suffice as the amendment.
Yeah, for my part, I think that's a sensible amendment, and I don't think it's unworkable, and I think it's a reasonable thing to be doing by way of safeguard. So I'd be happy to accept that.
Thank you. Councillor Gleichen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stutchbury.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
You're finished. Thank you. Councillor Con, did you have some amendments? No? Okay. So, Councillor Cameron, have those amendments been tabled? Yep.
Yes, I'm
Yep.
happy with those. I've just
Did you wish
made
to open debate on your item then?
look, only to say that I think, everything that can be said from my point of view has been said at this time, Mr Mayor. I'll reserve my right of reply.
Thank you. Councillor Vanderman, there's no speakers against, so Councillor Vanderman, did you wish to speak for?
Look, there was a fairly passionate debate about this at the committee meetings about a little over a fortnight ago. And all of the stuff that was said then applies now. And I think that from my perspective, the amendments are a sign again that the proponent and the proposed developer of this site has bent over backwards to accommodate the issues that councillors have raised time and time again over this particular proposal. If we go back to what it first looked like, this is nothing like what it first looked like. And all of the changes have been around the concerns that councillors have over the issue of the closeness to the Murray River, over the issue of potential impact on groundwater. And I believe that what we've done here is consistent with other developments in that area, as was pointed out, and it provides the greatest protections for the environment, considering that we do have land there that is reasonably close to the River Murray. From my perspective, if we were to not have this development take place, it would send the wrong signal to people in this community and outside that want to come to this community. We proudly display the motto, if you like, that we're open for business, and that means that we're open for business, but not at any cost. And I think what we have here is a detailed proposal that actually addresses the issues that have been raised by councillors that have been of concern and legitimate concern. And I think that it shows the community and outside people that we are open for business, but not at any cost. And I think that is where this proposal currently sits. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderman. Speaker against, Councillor Con.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I raised my concerns on the previous motion, and it's obvious that I didn't have the support of my fellow councillors to oppose this development. I only wanted to speak against to say I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that the groundwater monitoring bore that we're being asked to put in by DPI Water proves to be unnecessary. I hope that we never end up seeing contamination as a result of this. I'm still going to be here in 50 years to see the result, and it's something I'm obviously going to lose sleep over, and I hope that I'm wrong.
Thank you, Councillor Con. Councillor Stutchbury, you wish to speak for?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm not going to spend a long time on this, but I just wanted to make a couple of points. I noted that Councillor Con amended her original motion to remove one of her proposals from the meeting 2 weeks ago, where she stated that this rezoning would reduce the amenity of the local residents. And I just wanted to point out to my fellow councillors and anyone else interested to listen about what light industry actually includes. And it's an industrial activity that does not interfere with the amenity of the neighbourhood by reason of noise, vibration, smell, fumes, etc., etc. So amenity was never at question here. This is light industry. This is not heavy industry. There has been some concern over general industry, what in fact is general industry. And general industry is industry which is neither light nor heavy. And I think the important point there is that it's not heavy. So it is not an industry that requires separation from other developments because of the nature of the process, etc., etc. So we're talking here, if this rezoning is successful and then if there are future successful DAs, we're talking about things like nurseries, storage, public places of worship, all of those really good things that the community loves. We're not talking about heavy industry that reduces the amenity or disturbs people's day-to-day lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stutchbury. There being no further speakers for or against, I'm taking an extraordinary position of speaking from the Chair in relation to this item, and I'm speaking against the motion on the basis of my further concerns. And I originally indicated at the committee meeting that I'm concerned about this amenity to the Murray River, and certainly the traffic study that has been completed does not include Willowbank Road, which I think and believe will be used as a shortcut or an easier option for people buying into this site. I also believe the current amenity in that area is at full capacity in relation to traffic, and for planning reasons it does not sustain or certainly pass that test. In terms of the industrial land question that has been raised several times by councillors in this room, I believe there is adequate land in this city for light industrial land, and I believe that the Murray River precinct is sacrosanct to having that type of development on its banks. Even though we claim it will be 100 metres from the banks, it's still on the riverside, lee side of Willowbank Road. Secondly, I think the common statement that industry has always been allowed to propagate its development on the riverbanks is an age-old discussion, which again, with the current economics and the current environmental issues we know about now, and as sagely put by fellow Councillor Cameron about the rain falling on paddocks and washing chemicals in the river, I think there's a reason why we can't smoke on aeroplanes anymore. There's a reason why people can't smoke in restaurants. It's because they've identified that there is the threat to the passive person inhaling that cigarette smoke. And I think in this case, there's a reason why we shouldn't be putting something on the river, and something like this, even though it's light industrial, shouldn't be on our pristine Murray River. That being said, I don't believe that we've considered enough in relation to how this will be perceived by the community at large in this country, and I don't believe that the notion that we are putting a stop sign up to development is necessarily correct. So thank you, councillors. I'm happy. There's a question or a speaker for. Councillor Doxey, did you wish to speak for the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 14 days ago, I was absent from the committee meeting, and I observed it on YouTube. And I want to congratulate both Councillor Cameron and Councillor Van der Ven for the passion in which they presented their arguments. Unfortunately, on the night, the weight of argument didn't come down on their side. What I'm pleased to see is that common sense has prevailed. It appears that in the case of 6 councillors, that the emotion has come out of it for them, in as much as the word industrial is actually light industrial. Take away the idea of semi-trailers, heavy transport, smokestacks, the whole lot. This piece of land is not on the Murray in the true sense of the word. So let's take the emotion out of that for again. I will be voting for the motion, and I congratulate Councillor Cameron for the way he has now put this together and the amendments offered by Councillor Suchbury, which have been accepted. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Doxey. I'll have a speaker against. Councillor King.
Just to make it short, take offence that I haven't got any common sense. And secondly, that I think in 20 or 30 years, I don't want to be someone that voted for this and they said, what the hell were these people thinking when they voted for it? So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King. I'm happy to put the motion. Remember, we're calling closing debate. That's right, Councillor Cameron. I thought you'd had enough wind. That's right. I'll wind you up now.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. In life, you can make decisions based on facts or you can make decisions based on emotive reasons and nonsense. They're not the same thing. And planning matters in local government. When you're a local government councillor, you have a very serious duty to make decisions based on facts, not on silly statements, not on arguments about people might take a shortcut that is actually almost a kilometre further, not on ridiculous statements that people might be canoeing on the river and their amenity will be visually affected by something that's 80 metres away behind a levee bank or 100 metres away. You have a responsibility as a councillor to vote with your head and not any other part of your anatomy. I'll leave it at that, and I will only say this final thing. It'd be nice if this was the end of this matter, but it won't be. This will now have to come back to a subdivision plan at some point in order for further development to take place, and that will be another opportunity for council to engage with lengthy consultation with the public and to put in place appropriate controls to ensure that this appropriate development can occur. Then following that, there'll be another series of hurdles for people to jump before they can each individually, having purchased or wishing to purchase blocks down there, establish light industry and similar businesses. Each of those will be subject to a development application, and council will have another opportunity to make sure that appropriate controls exist. So it's not the end, but for tonight, I'll now conclude.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. On that note, I will put the motion. All those in favour, member to division, Councillor Stutchbury, Councillor Doxey, Councillor Cameron, Councillor Glacken, Councillor Thurling, Councillor Vanderman. All those against, Councillor Mack, Councillor Conn and Councillor King. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 8.2, report from the Engineering Works Committee meeting held on Monday the 13th of November 2017. Councillor Vanderman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the recommendations included in the report from the Engineering and Works Committee meeting held on Monday the 13th of November 2017 be adopted with the exception of item EWC 7.2, supply of cleaning services, AlburyCity Community Properties, contract number 17/00746, which would be the subject of a separate motion.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Doxey.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Vanderman, did you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
There being no question or debate, I have to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Councillor Vanderman, did you wish to speak to your alternate motion, EWC 7.2?
Yes, Mr Mayor, can I just have 30 seconds with the General Manager, just request some advice on protocol? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr Mayor.
My pleasure. Councillor Vanderman.
I would like to move that Council or the committee recommends the council accepts the tender from HACCP International Property Services Proprietary Limited for the schedule of rates contract number 17/00746 for the supply of cleaning services for AlburyCity community properties for a 3-year period commencing 1 February 2018 for the estimated contract value of $395,316, including GST.
Councillor Fairley.
I'll second the motion, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Vandervan, did you wish to speak to that?
Yes, again, Mr Mayor, we had a situation with the committee meetings where I obviously was a smidgen disappointed that we went originally with a contract which was $40,000 more over the 3-year period than the staff recommendation. I want to go back probably 18 months, 2 years, where we had our first serious issues in council about local contract, local supply. With a contract that I believe there was about $20 difference in a $1.9 million contract, and there was a fair bit of discussion around that particular contract. When the new council was formed in September 2016, we had some issues around local contracting, and we had a real robust debate and robust discussions around actually putting into our contracting system, our tendering system, a waiting for local contracts. On the basis of all of those changes that we've made in the last 12 months to our tendering processes, and that in the finish, I believe there was only 1 point difference in the quantitative and qualitative assessment of these two, or the two contracts, one which was recommended in the first place by the committee, and the second is the one that I've recommended now, which was the staff recommendation. It's obviously was disappointing to see that a majority of councillors at the committee meeting supported the spending of more money. There's a couple of issues here. One is that we're sending out really mixed signals around the issues of, and we really risk putting council in a very invidious position where, if this continues, we won't get any people from outside this area, tendering for local contracts. And if I was a smart local contractor, I'd also be trying to maybe come up with what might be a reasonable price for a contract, and let's see, maybe add 5%, and it mightn't be on a small contract, it could be on a large contract, because the council will overturn a proposal, a staff recommendation, on the basis that it's within 10%. Now, the other thing is that we've got in place, and we have had in place for a long time now, a service and efficiency review process that the general manager his performance appraisals is part of the review, the service and efficiency review forms part of his appraisal process, and we have saved through that service and efficiency review some millions of dollars. And here we are. We've already put in place those issues around the tendering process to account for local procurement, and we're throwing away $40,000 that we don't need to. Again, why are we bothering with service and efficiency reviews to try and save money when all we're going to do is throw it away on the basis of the people are local contractors? Now, with this particular contract in mind, I have absolutely no doubts that the people that are going to be performing this contract are all going to be local workers. I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. And the councillors, during the debate over the issue at the last at the committee meeting 2 weeks ago, said that, oh yes, but the other contractor, which was Southern Asset Services, they might spend their money for accounting and legal services and other supplies locally. Well, I'm suggesting to you that if you haven't asked that question of Southern Asset Services about whether they do spend their money locally for accounting and legal and all the other services they need, then that's an invalid argument. The council staff have done their due diligence with this tender on the basis of the guidelines that we gave them, and they have recommended that we go with HACCP Service International Property Services, and it's $40,000 less than what we talked about. And people say, oh, it's only $40,000, but it's $40,000, and it's on top of a few other contracts over the last 12 months where we've spent money needlessly. So I think we need to put a stop. We need to send the right signals to the community that we value outside of this local area. We value them putting in tenders for contracts. We don't want that to stop. And then we also need to have a situation where we're not throwing away the benefits of the service and efficiency review, which not only affects individual people, it affects the performance appraisals of individual people. We don't need to throw that money away for any reason whatsoever. So on the basis of that, Mr Mayor, I would like my councillors to accept that this is the right result for this council, and we're sending the correct signals to our community and to anyone else who wants to tender for contracts within our city. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vandervan. I have 3 speakers against and 1 for. Councillor Con.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We did have a discussion at length about preferencing local tenders a year ago, and at that time this fear-mongering about no external parties tendering was raised, and it didn't happen over a year. It's obvious that it didn't happen because we're currently considering an external tender for this contract a year later. So I really don't think that argument carries any weight. Secondly, after discussions at length, we agreed on a system where we would apply a 10% weighting to favour local tenderers. When you apply that new system, the original tenderer wins by 1 point. Yes, it's only 1 point, but we didn't have all those discussions at length to then not actually apply the new system and go with the cheapest tenderer anyway. We need to stick to the policies and procedures that we've actually set. Finally, preferencing local tenders is actually how you create jobs and growth in this community. It's not by giving cash handouts to business owners, but by providing work for people in our community to do. And I will continue to support the local tender, and I oppose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Con. We have a speaker for. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Like Councillor Con, I support preferential treatment of those who do local good, or where those companies that are supplying a service where it's shown that generates local good. But I'd ask Councillor Con to consider her comments, and I'd ask other councillors to consider her comments and the statements she just made. We have developed a policy which gives a weighting, if you like, to companies that have a component in their tender of local benefit, local good. Having applied that policy, this is not the preferred, the recommendation from council was not the preferred contractor, was not the recommended contractor, having applied that policy. And yes, as Councillor Con said, we should abide by the policies that we've set in place. Now, the policy we've set in place said that even with a weighting, the other contractor in question in this matter was not as good a proposition for council as this contractor. It is because I support the policy that we developed last year. I think it might be time that we revisit it and perhaps increase it or tighten it up or introduce some stronger elements to it. But I support the application of that policy. You can't make a policy and then when the policy is applied, it doesn't give you the result you want narrowly, then ignore the policy. To do that makes a joke of having the policy. The policy's there for a reason. The policy was applied in this assessment. The policy gave a weighting of 10%, I think it was, to the contractors, and yet the overall proposition is that the other contractor is not the best option for council. Very narrowly, admittedly, but it's not. So if you support your own policy, if you respect your own policy, you're bound to take the results of your own policy. To do otherwise is to weaken the policy and make it irrelevant, frankly, and turn it into a free-for-all, which, as Councillor Van der Ven alluded to, will ultimately very likely corrupt the market and result in a situation where people say, wacko, I'm local, I can put in up to 10%, and at least I know I can go that far, and rake off the cream, and people won't knock me back because I'm local. Well, if you're going to take advantage of the 10% local benefit policy that we've implemented, you must also make sure that the other factors in your bid stack up to being a good enough proposition for council, so you are the standout. You say you are the standout and clear preferred tenderer at the end of that process. So unlucky, but the other tenderer, even at the end, even with a 10% rating, even with 10% less lead in the saddlebags, still doesn't stack up as well as this one. And it's not an insignificant amount of money either. So for that reason, because I support the policy and I support the process and I respect the process that we've put in place, staff didn't put it in place, we put it in place. Staff are doing what we told them to do. They come back with the answer that they've reached following the process that we told them to do, and we say, no, don't like your answer. Sorry, it's ridiculous. Support the policy, vote for this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I have a speaker against, Councillor Stutchbury.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I'd like to thank Councillor Cameron for that very prolonged argument, because it enabled me to bring up the documents that I needed. I have the qualitative and quantitative scoring here in front of me because I didn't want to say something that was inaccurate. HACCP International Property Services Proprietary Limited scored 100 on the quantitative because they provided the cheapest tender. However, they only scored 88 on the qualitative. One of the reasons they scored lower there is because they're not local. Southern Asset Services scored 91 on the quantitative because their quote was more. However, they scored 98 on the qualitative, being a local company amongst others. So adding those together, you get 188 for the unsuccessful tender, and you get 189 for the tender that we voted for at that committee meeting. We voted for Southern Asset Services because they outscored the unsuccessful tenderer, and that's it. We voted for the tenderer that scored the best, and that's actually the end of the argument. And I'm quite disappointed that Councillor Van der Ven has actually brought this up, because I think there are other more important things we could be discussing tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Stutchbury. I have another speaker for Councillor Doxey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. First off, let me preempt my saying by saying I support local business, local contractors. However, that said, not at an additional cost, to our ratepayers. I want to cast your mind back to earlier this year, when a simple proposition was put to council about $10,000 to Scott's School to go to Edinburgh Military Tattoo. The majority of councillors voted against $10,000. Here we are prepared to give away another $40,000 for nothing. No gain for us. I remind councillors that quite some time ago, I don't want to be too specific, that we gave away close to $400,000 by the same process. We need to be careful. Do we support the council recommendations, or do we want to go with another agenda? I will vote for the recommendation, and I ask my fellow councillors to consider what has been said by Councillor Van der Ven and said by Councillor Cameron, who again spoke tonight very well. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Doxey. I have a question from Councillor Cameron before I take a speaker against. Councillor Cameron?
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the most appropriate member of staff, I'd be interested in the staff's assessment of what Councillor Stutchbury has said, and is it correct that the aggregate score, as it were, for the other tenderer, as opposed to the one that's been identified in Councillor Vanderven's motion, was a higher score, but the price was the determining factor.
Mr Ferris.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Our procurement policy, has two independent assessments. One's the qualitative assessment. It includes a 10% weighting towards regional benefit. And then we have a quantitative assessment, which is just an analytical assessment or a mathematical assessment of the prices submitted. The two assessments are not to be added, and our policy and procedures don't allow them to be added. That's why in the reports there's no addition of those two assessments. They're independently done. From the quantitative, we can determine who are best placed to provide the service. And in this case, both the top two tenderers, or the two lowest tenderers, were deemed suitable and capable of undertaking the contract at hand, and both received very high referee checks for their past work. So it really came down to best value for the community based on the two separate assessments, and the assessment panel believed that that the current one, the HACCP International Properties, could successfully provide the contract. They were the lowest price, and they provided the best value for money between them and Southern Assets.
Further question, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm going to need a little bit more detail, I'm afraid, Mr Ferris, if I may, through you, Mr Mayor. Looking at the document, HACCP International has a quantitative assessment of 100 and a qualitative assessment of 88. Southern Asset Services has a qualitative assessment of 91 and a qualitative assessment of 98. Now, if you took the application of the local benefit or local good policy out, which one of those figures would be affected?
Mr Ferris.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it would be the qualitative assessment, where Southern Asset Services for local benefit received the maximum marks of 10 out of 10, and HACCP received 7 out of 10 based on their commitment to employ local staff and purchase local resources to undertake the contract. So, as per our newly adopted policy, local benefit has been included in the qualitative assessment.
Just for Southern Asset or for
both?
For both. Mm.
For all of the tenderers, so Southern Assets, as said, scored on page 12 of the initial report, and the rest of them scored 7, because similar to HACCP, some of them have a head office outside our region, albeit they employ local staff.
So it'd be fair to say the overall comparison between the two is 3% difference in qualitative, in local benefit, 10 versus 7.
Mr Ferris.
Through you, Mr Mayor. The scores of 98 and 88 represent the qualitative assessment. So in past performance, they were very close, 28, 27, meeting specification, the same. So they were very competitive across the board, which gave Southern Assets a 10% better qualitative assessment than HACCP. But the assessment panel believed that they could both undertake the job successfully.
Councillor Cameron, you happy?
Well, I'm not happy, but anyway, I'll discuss it when we talk about it.
It's a fact of life. Councillor King, you have a question?
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the relevant member of staff. So as of right now, would it be fair to say that HACCP International, and I'll emphasise international, Property Services has no employees, no office, no presence, no previous work history with AlburyCity Council whatsoever.
Mr Ferris?
Mr Mayor, that's certainly outlined in the report that is the case.
So just one from me, Mr Ferris, in relation to regional benefit and the weighting of the qualitative assessment. In fairness of this particular policy, the local procurement policy is devised or designed to include a level playing field for even people like HACT International to demonstrate to the panel that they can compete at that level, qualitative level, as best as the local business. Is that correct? It's not an uneven playing field.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that's certainly the case, that the assessment's based on the submissions and what the contractors are how they're going to provide that service. But as suggested earlier, a cleaning service will require locals to undertake that project.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, you have another question?
This is Southern Cleaning Services that are based in Kendall Street, Wodonga we're talking about, or a different company? Thanks.
Is that your response? Okay, no worries. Thank you. Can we have a speaker against? Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'm speaking against the motion. Again, we came to council a year ago with a local content as one of our platforms. I'm not totally convinced that the local weighting has been applied correctly in this case. As Mr Ferris indicated, that as it stands, this company that promotes itself for providing international services has no office, no staff, no vehicle, no history in Albury. I think we also need to consider that the second applicant who we awarded who we favoured last meeting is a local business, and that I'm sure they don't have. Well, I'm presuming they don't have the portfolio that maybe HACCP International Property Services, and this may be indeed half of their work. So if this doesn't get up for them, potentially managers and other businesses, which Councillor Vanderman pointed out may be legal firms and accountants and suppliers, they also may miss out. So I'm not totally convinced that the weighting matter by giving someone 7 on the say-so that, yes, we'll buy our mops and our cleaning stuff from someone in Albury, when you've got a company that HACCP International Property Services probably has a national agreement with some of the big firms, is really plausible. So I'm voting against it, and I hope we support the local businesses.
Thank you, Councillor King. Speaker 4, Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be fairly brief, given that many of the arguments in favour have been so well put by Councillors Vandervan and Cameron. Basically, they're both going to employ local employees, so whether they've got them here now or not, to me, is totally irrelevant. You could also look at it as an opportunity. That is, a new company coming into town and setting up a business to do cleaning. We have a policy. We need to stick to it, as Councillor Cameron has said. We spent a lot of time trying to develop this policy and getting an appropriate method of favouring local contractors, but it should not be at any cost, and this is a significant additional cost if we go with a local contractor. So I did vote the other way, but I've decided on my further thoughts and consideration that I will support Councillor Cameron's motion to award it to HACCP. Councillor Vandervan's motion, sorry.
It's Councillor Vandervan's. Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Councillor Strutt, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a question directed to the appropriate member of staff through you, and it relates to a comment that Councillor Thurley just made about it being a significant cost. Could I have an understanding of the difference on a per year basis of the costs of the two contracts two tenders under discussion.
Mr Ferris.
Mr Mayor, so as outlined in the report, there's about $40,000 difference over the 3 years, so that'll be $13,000 a year in approximate figures.
Councillor Shushby, happy with that? Or?
Yeah, $13,000 a year difference. Thank you, Mr Ferris.
Yes, well, we have no more speakers for or against. Councillor Vandervan, did you wish to close debate?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The issue around the fact that these people have got an international property, and the international name in their in their company name, I don't think that's an absolute furphy. There were some assertions made too around that they've probably got some agreements in place. Well, let's hope that Councillor King has actually rang the company to make sure that they have got some supply contracts in place and they're not going to buy their mops locally. Because if he hasn't done that, then he doesn't have a right, in my view, to be raising that as an issue in this particular case. I think we need to be sending the signals to our community that we will not accept a $40,000 increase in a service. And as the last sentence in the report, it has been assessed by the panel as being the most advantageous submission for council. Taking all of the issues into account, the policy that we put in place, it is the most advantageous submission for council. And I think that that's where this needs to be looked at. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vandervan. On that note, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We have reports from the Community and Cultural Committee meeting held on Monday the 20th of November. Councillor Con.
Thank you. I move that the recommendations included in the report from the Community and Cultural Committee meeting held on Monday the 20th of November 2017 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Con. Councillor Doxey.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Con, did you wish to speak to that at all?
Only briefly, Mr Mayor, to say that these minutes included a fantastic report on homelessness in our community, which included a commitment to develop a prevention of homelessness strategy, which I'm really looking forward to discussing once that research has been done by our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. On that note, I'm happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. The records reflect that Councillor Cameron's leaving the chamber temporarily. CM 8.4, Reports from Finance and Administration Committee meeting held on Monday the 20th of November. Councillor Glacken.
Sorry, I thought I was pressing my buttons to support the chair to move the recommendation, so I'd happy to support Councillor Thurley.
Councillor Thurley, do you wish to move the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the recommendation included in the report from the Finance Administration Committee meeting held on Monday, 20th November be adopted.
Thank you. And Councillor Glacken, you happy to second?
Very happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, do you wish to speak to that?
Oh, no, there's nothing overly significant other than to comment on probably the excellent financial performance of council over the last 12 months. The corporate health indicators also show very good achievements in most areas across council, and especially including workplace health and safety. A constant improvement over my 5 years on council, and I'm really pleased to see that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. CM9, reports from the Community Forum. CM 9.1, report from the Community Forum held on Monday the 30th of October 2017 at 6:02 p.m. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the report from the Community Forum held on Monday, 30th October at 6:02 p.m. be confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Doxey.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, do you have anything to say to that motion?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
No further debate or question. I'm happy to put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. CM10, notices of motion or notice of rescission. CM10.1, notice of motion, Albury LGA RV Park. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to put forward the motion that the Albury Council staff cease preparing a report for the development of RV Park on the banks of the Murray River in the local government area of Albury.
Thank you, Councillor King. Need a seconder. Thanks. Councillor Con.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll second that.
Thank you. Councillor King, did you wish to speak to that?
Yes, I will. Thank you. There's a hell of a lot I'd like to say about this, but I'll just keep it brief. It's been a year since I raised this, and in that time, the Albury-Wodonga councils have got together, and hopefully new and exciting things are going to progress from that. I think this is an ideal platform for a RV park to be put forward in that joint arena. Again, it's a big project. There can only be one of them. It's going to benefit both sides of the border. I think for us to go it alone at this stage is probably a waste of time and money. And I think we should stop what we're doing now, have discussions with the committee that is the One Community, Two Cities, and see if we can get this thing over the line as a joint venture.
Thank you, Councillor King. I have two speakers against this motion. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Yes, I speak against this motion because whilst I support the agreements that we've come to recently, the more official agreements between Albury and Wodonga, I do not believe that there is not scope for us to continue with these proposals for RV parks. And I disagree with this motion because while Councillor King has said that this will be a big park, the proposed Wodonga Park, I think that there is scope for smaller opportunities. And my understanding of the work that was being done and the proposals that had been made, the very nascent proposals made by staff, was that we would have boutique locations around the city, a number of boutique locations around the city that would enable RV people to do what they really want to do, and that is to go to different locations and to not be all put into one large pen. And I think that the opportunities that we have here in Albury and indeed in Wodonga are more than one opportunity. And I think a number of boutique locations around the two cities would be appropriate. And I think the suggestion of Creamer Street was a great idea. There would be a number of RV people who would want to utilise that facility. So I do not support this recommendation by Councillor King. I support the opportunity for us as a community or as a council to continue with the concept of a number of smaller boutique locations that would be appropriately or for appropriate use by RV users. So I do not support this motion. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Councillor Cameron wishes to speak for the motion.
I think that we have to give due consideration to the fact that this was a project that was being advocated and with some support of others, including myself, but primarily by Councillor King. And if Councillor King wants to now withdraw this as an Albury project and pursue it in the two cities, one community sphere, I think that really we should support him in that. I mean, I think it's a bit odd to be arguing against someone's notice of motion that seeks to terminate a project that they've been advocating and leading. I'm a bit worried that anyone will be able to get up future projects in the Riverfront precinct, though, when I hear statements in this chamber tonight that the Riverfront precinct is sacrosanct. I think that that's a wild statement, an emotional statement. There are many things that both cities could and should have close to the river, and whether they be light industrial with the appropriate controls or whether they be river deck cafes or swimming pools or sporting facilities or a new dock for river cruises, who knows? But let's not have any more sweeping statements about things being sacrosanct. So it's Councillor, in my view, it's Councillor King's call, and I'll be supporting him.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron, for that other bite. We have a speaker against, Councillor Thurley. Yes, Councillor Cameron.
What bite would that be?
The second bite of debate that you mentioned again.
Well, point of order, Mr Mayor, if you want to respond to anything I say in the course of debate, it would be appropriate that you do it in the course of debate when you're speaking, not ad hoc or ad lib. And I'd ask you to withdraw that remark.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I'll withdraw it.
Good, thank you.
Your indulgence. Councillor, yes, Councillor
What
Cameron.
indulgence would that be?
You're right as a councillor to ask me to withdraw it, Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, there's no indulgence. I mean,
Thank you.
Last time I heard about indulgences, it was with Martin Luther's time.
Thank you. We're up to Councillor Thurley, I think it was, wanted to speak against.
Yes, and I would take issue with Councillor Cameron that it's Councillor King's right to withdraw his own motion. If we look at the item from the council minutes on the 27th of February 2017, potential options for RV, caravan and camping areas, that was item 14.4. Councillor Conn moved, Councillor Thurley seconded, that council receive and note the report. B, prepare a preliminary business case for the development of the users pay RV park on part of council land at Creamer Street, and so on. So that can still occur. And now that we have made this agreement, 2 cities, 1 community, then I would certainly expect our staff to be talking to Wodonga staff about an RV park as a joint venture. But why would we preclude doing something in Councillor Glacken's terms, a boutique park? A small park at Creamer Street takes advantage of Wonga wetlands, the Wagira Trail. The river is a totally different environment there. The sound of traffic, trains, highways that can be heard on the Weatherall site on the causeway, totally different. So I'm not saying that I don't want us to work with Wodonga, but I'm saying let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. We've already gone partly down this track. Let's see it through. And if that leads to the development of a small RV park at Creamer Street, so be it. I don't see the need for the motion. I'm not saying we shouldn't work with Wodonga, but we should allow our existing work to continue in the hope that we can find something suitable at and develop it at Creamer Street.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Just a question to the relevant member of staff in relation to the policy that's currently under development in relation to RV parking. I believe Creamer Street was mentioned as a potential location for RV parking versus an RV park. Would that be would that process and that report will not be delayed by this motion? Is that correct, Ms. Squire?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No, you're correct. The policy is in its final stages of formation. It does provide a range of opportunities for overnight RV parking at key points around the CBD, but that is a very different thing to an RV park, where people can park for numerous days, remove equipment from vehicles and effectively prop and camp, if you like. But certainly I wouldn't expect, given the focus of this is very much on an RV park of the motion that has been presented for Council's consideration, I wouldn't expect that to change the work that we have been doing on the RV policy, albeit, as I've highlighted, that's a very different thing to an RV park.
And just further to that question, Ms. Squire, while you're online, in relation to Creamer Street, would it be your understanding that it wouldn't be a suitable RV park per se, given its current use?
Just for clarification, Mr Mayor, if I can. So the land that we'd identified in the original report was the land that Council owns, which is currently opposite the wastewater treatment facilities or the sewage treatment facilities we have there. It was highlighted in the report at the time that we wouldn't anticipate creating an RV park there until such time as that facility was decommissioned, recognising that obviously the amenity of the area is going to be an important part of the visitor experience. What we were looking to do was to undertake that preliminary feasibility work to understand the size, the scale, the quantum, the infrastructure requirements and the investment that would be required to support an RV park, but also to do some consultation with adjoining property owners, given the land is currently zoned residential and may require a rezoning proposal in order to support the operation of an RV park. So there is quite a bit of strategic planning work to do before the suitability of that site could be contemplated, but certainly conceptually that was the site that was going to be the focus.
Thank you, Ms Sky. Question from Councillor Doxey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a question to the appropriate member of staff. Under consideration is the Weatherall land on the causeway. I'm interested in an understanding of, is that land prone to flooding? First off, before I make my decision. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Doxey. Ms Squire, are you able to answer that question? Was it
Through you,
notice
Mr
to me?
Chair, I don't have information about the site and I'm not well informed enough to be able to respond, Councillor Doxey, I'm sorry.
Councillor Doxey?
Yeah, I'm happy with that decision, in as much as no answer, but I understand where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor King, have a question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. To the relevant member of staff, just comments made about Creamer Street and the decommissioning of the sewage plant. Could you give me an idea when the decommissioning of the sewage plant would be considered by council?
Mr Ferris.
Through you, Mr Mayor, our current focus is duplicating Waterview. Once we have that operational and a revamp of the existing facility at Waterview, we'll move into decommissioning the Creamer Street site. We expect that in that 5 to 10 year window would be when that would occur.
Thank you, Mr Ferris. Question from Councillor King. Follow-up?
So 10 years is your outside, or could it be more?
Mr Ferris.
Through you, Mr Mayor, based on our current works for the Waterview plant, and we're in functional design stage at this stage. So, yeah, our preliminary estimate would be in that 5 to 10 year period. So we would be anticipating or programming to have it completed in the 10 year period at this stage.
Councillor King. Thank you. Speaker 4, Councillor Stutchbury.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In relation to the term boutique used by Councillor Glacken, in my mind can't quite get boutique and sewerage farm into the same frame, but I'm going to try really hard to keep doing that. In relation to history, thank you, Councillor Thurley, for reminding us that on that day, on the 27th of February 2017, you moved, Councillor Con moved and you seconded the motion. 3 councillors voted against that motion, Councillors Stutchbury, King and Mack. Those were the 3 councillors who were elected to this place on the platform of establishing an RV park. So one would wonder why those 3 councillors voted against that particular motion. And I think that tonight's argument is bringing that into out into the light. I'm not wishing to sound critical of staff here, so please don't take this the wrong way, but deciding on the Creamer Street site on the basis that it will be a great spot once the sewage works have been decommissioned in 10 years, and also, we've got to rezone it as well, but it's pretty easy to rezone land close to the river, so that shouldn't be a problem. I'm not sure, and I'm not being critical here, but I'm just not sure that Creamer Street was the right choice, and that's why the 3 councillors I mentioned voted against the original motion, even though they ran on a platform of establishing an RV park. And that's why Councillor King, I think, has put in this notice of motion tonight, which I support.
Thank you, Councillor Stutchbury. Councillor Doxey speaking against.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will speak against the motion, but I understand Councillor King's need to knock this one on the head and move on to a possibly a combined park between Wodonga and Albury. However, as a previous owner of 3 caravans and having travelled around Australia, and I don't believe that Kramer Street was the only site. It was a site that was under consideration. And I accept what has been said tonight, that possibly there could be 10 years before we get rid of the area out there that could be unpleasant. The real issue is that Kramer Street offers an RV an opportunity who can't around Australia a boat. And we need to consider access to our river if we're going to promote people staying in Albury or Wodonga, because they need access to the river, because great majority of them, as you probably see on the road, carry a boat on the top of their 4-wheel drive, the back of their RV of some description. The staff have been working towards a recommendation or a report to us. I would suggest that we need to let staff continue on with that, and then we can make a judgment based upon what their findings are. I certainly agree with the idea that Kramer Street may not be today or tomorrow suitable, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater and stop this particular investigation and report back to council. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Doxey. I have a speaker for Councillor Con.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Only briefly to say that I believe that any work that's been done on the Creamer Street site, boutique sites or anywhere else could still be had in the context of a joint strategy with Wodonga City. I believe Councillor King was quite clear when he gave us his reasoning of wanting this to be done as part of the Wodonga 2 Cities, 1 Community partnership, which has been so successful that I know we've got a Wodonga councillor in the gallery tonight. I think that all of those options can be explored. The river is shared by both councils, and we're better off doing this as a joint strategy that's looking for the long-term future rather than doing one side at a time on our own. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Con. No speakers for or against. Councillor King, did you wish to close debate?
Yes, I'd like to close debate. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I've heard the comments from councillors regarding the RV park. Realistically, it's been a year, and I'm not criticising the staff, as Councillor Stutchbury was not criticising staff, but it has been a year. We've got an interim report and then not much more after that. So I voted against the Creamer Street. Any involvement with that, anything in the shadow of the sewage farm, it's just crazy. And I have pushed this as one of the platforms that I got onto council with Councillor Stutchbury and Mac. And it's not the end of it. It's going to happen. I just don't think we need to be competing against Wodonga, who, as everyone could see in the media, has shown a bit of appetite for something on their side. And I think it's, everyone should cool their jets and join together, and hopefully we can have the best RV park on the Murray River for the whole length of it, and that people can come and enjoy our great area in the best RV park. The cost of developing these things potentially will be shared between federal and state and local governments, so it may not be an impost on Albury, and I think that we've certainly highlighted the potential for this to go ahead, and hopefully this actually brings it to a head, and we get going and get something going certainly again in the next 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor King. On that note, I'll put the motion. Those for the motion? Those against the motion? The motion is 1. Thank you, councillors. It's carried. CM 11, presentation deputation, there aren't any. CM 12, reports, minutes of committees and working parties. CM 12.1, minutes of the audit committee meeting held on Wednesday the 15th of November. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, Mr Chair. To move the recommendation as a motion that the minutes recommendations of the Audit Committee meeting held Wednesday the 15th of November 2017 at 12:04 p.m. be received, noted and accepted. And if I may, I would like to ask through you to the most relevant member of staff if we should also put in the recommendation that we receive and note the report from the Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Mr Sacknich.
Yes, to complete the suite of documents there. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Glacken, happy to do that?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Councillor Vanderman.
Happy to second that with that amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Glacken, did you wish to speak to that at all?
If I may, very briefly, Council is in a transition period from what has been an audit committee to an audit review and improvement committee, and we're in that changeover period at the moment. I would like to thank the external members of the audit committee for their work on the committee and the fact that they undertook their role with great respect for council and the community, and indeed with vigour. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. On that note, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. The documents are sealing. Thanks, councillors. Councillor Vanderman.
Happy to move the documents for sealing. The council authorises the seal to be affixed to the documents outlined below in the presence of two signatories authorised to affix the seal pursuant to Regulation 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2005 and the use of the council seal policy. A, AlburyCity lease to Albury Wodonga Youth Emergency Services, Yes Limited of 329 Griffith Road, Lavington, New South Wales, 2641, renewal of existing lease commencing 1 November 2017 for 2 years, and B, deed of variation of option between Colin David Johnson and Judith Angela Gibbs as trustee for the Forest Air Helicopters Proprietary Limited Superannuation Fund and AlburyCity Council to provide 12-month extension.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderman. Councillor Doxey, wish to second the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Vanderman, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. CM 14, Officers' Reports for Consideration. CM 14.1, the Code of Conduct Report. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that Council A receive and note the Model Code of Conduct Complaint Statistics Report from the Complaints Coordinator for the period 1 September 2016 to 31st of August 2017. And B, receive and note the update regarding the usage of AlburyCity's Conduct Advisor service.
Thank you. Councillor Stutchbury.
Happy to second that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Thurley, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, I do. Very briefly, but I do note that we spent almost $17,000 mediating code of conduct complaints. And I think that's an appalling statistic. I stood for council in 2012, and one of the major factors then was the council in the previous year then spent $66,000 mediating code of conduct complaints, councillor against councillor and councillor and staff. It's an appalling situation when councillors cannot resolve matters between themselves, and we spend $17,000 of ratepayers' money to have a mediator come into this matter. I believe we need to get far better than that. We need to be respectful, and when we have disagreement, we need to resolve it between ourselves. It should not be costing ratepayers. An appalling situation. I'd like every councillor to reflect on that so that the next time we receive this report, it does not include the expenditure of this amount of money.
Thank you, Councillor, yeah. I've lost it now. Thank you. Thurley. Councillor Starch, you wish to speak for.
I'd like to echo Councillor Thurley's words. Earlier tonight, we were quibbling over a tender that was $13,000 a year cheaper, and worried about throwing money away. We were earlier this evening, and last year we spent, as Councillor Thurley outlined, close to $17,000 on things that didn't really need to have that money spent on them. So yes, I would hope that, as Councillor Thurley stated, this time next year we'll be looking at a bottom line that says $0. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 4, Councillor Doxey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I too will endorse the comments made by Councillor Thurley. I too was in the chamber here in 2012 observing whether I would stand for council, and I saw the atrocious behaviour, the anger between some of the councillors and the costs that related as a consequence. And I agree that some of the, it would appear, because we don't know who, I say, it would appear to be thin-skinned, and we should be getting on with life as adults and representing this community as adults and save ourselves $17,000 in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doxey. Councillor Cameron, you wish to speak for.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Codes of conduct complaints are for sooks. I've never made a code of conduct complaint, and I never, ever will. I've been the subject of a few. Very, very, very unjustified ones, I might say. But I've never made one, and I never will. It's an absolute last resort of an absolute sooky crybaby.
Thank you for those lasting words. Councillor Con.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wasn't going to speak to this one, but I feel compelled to speak at this point. The Code of Conduct is there for a reason. It's there to ensure professional conduct between councillors. I'm also appalled by the amount we've spent on it, but the solution is not for people to grow a thicker skin or to not be sooks. It's for councillors to treat each other appropriately and professionally. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Thurley, I'll get your name this time. Did you wish to close debate on this item? Thanks.
I can only endorse the last sentence that Councillor Con. It is a matter of respect, and councillors should show each other respect. And while vigorous disagreement and vigorous debate is something that I applaud, it should always be respectful.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Have put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. 14.2, development application 10.2017.356667.1, temporary outdoor food and beverage area, 6 months, Albury SSNA Club, 576 Olive Street. Let the record show that Councillor Glacken is leaving the chamber. Thank you, councillors. I need a mover of this item, thanks. Councillor King.
Yes, I'd like to move the motion. The council receive and note the contents of this report. Grant consent to the development application 10.2017.35667.1 for a temporary outdoor food and beverage area -6 months at lots 1 and 2 DP 1090460, 576 Olive Street, Albury, subject to the conditions contained in the draft determination shown as attachment 6 to this report.
Thank you, Councillor King. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Thurley.
I'll second the motion, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Councillor King, did you wish to open debate on this item?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes. I think there's been a fair bit of fear and concerning the request for temporary food vans to be put up at the SSNA Club. SSNA Club is a great community member and organisation. I support the Ovens and Murray football netball. They are a member of the food bank and have been around for a long time. What I understand is the SSNA Club are doing some renovations of their kitchen and or one of their kitchens, and that they're asking for us to grant permission so we could help them get that renovation done. They could keep their patronage. They could provide a range of food that we mightn't ordinarily get here at the moment, to provide a different type of ambience of food vans, and that people are able to wander around in a nicely constructed temporary facility with fake grass and pallet decking and trees and all those sort of things that go with faux outdoor dining. We've received a number of objections from people, which, when you actually drill down to it, is generated by one or two organisations, and that those objections appear to be self-serving. That they are businesses that are in competition with the SSNA Club, and they're fearful that something like this is going to affect their trade significantly. I've done some research regarding the Yarrawonga Food Festival, Yarrawonga Food Truck Festival, and spoke to a gentleman who was there last Saturday, who was there for the whole 4 days. He said to me that if he didn't go to the food truck festival, he would have eaten at home. That the hyperbole regarding businesses going out of business has not occurred in Yarrawonga. The businesses near, and that's up to a kilometre away, that were around the food truck festival, had a significant bump in their trade, and the pubs were full, other cafes were full. There was a lot of activity in the general area. They quoted Big Mix Diner as a business that lost significant amount of money, and he said it may well have. It is located at the other end of town, and from what I know, Big Mix Diner's still operating. Competition can't be a impediment to a development application. If we used that line, there would be one shop in Albury, and when the second shop went to get set up, we'd go, no, they're in competition to me. So we'd have one shop. The food trucks and what they do, they're not selling heroin. They're selling tacos, they're selling lamb souvlaki's, they're providing food for people that may not ordinarily get out and about. And I'm sure the objectors to this concept, they're not going to be their patrons. They're going to be other people that go, hey, this is a good idea. So just in closing my little argument here, one of the proponents, Canvas Cafe, was very prominent in their objection. So the other day on touring around Dean Street, I called into the Canvas Cafe and I got myself a little Aussie Beer Fest pamphlet that's promoting QE2 Square December the 2nd. And on the back of it, this is sitting on their counter, 25 breweries, ciders, wines, restaurants, and guess what? Food trucks. So one of the main objectors to this, who's corralled a lot of other people to put submissions in, is actually promoting something because it's at their front door and they're going to benefit. When the Aussie Beer Fest put their proposal in, I don't think we got any objections in regards to it, and we certainly didn't get any from the vigour and an effort that some people have put into, because it's at their front door. And because it's not at their front door, they don't like it and are now objecting to it. And what we also remember, that the objections that have come in here aren't from butchers. They're not from moteliers. They're not from bakers. They're not from fruit sellers. And the figures that Gerard Darmody quoted, that the potential is over time, and I'm sort of maybe crossing the streams with the one that was going for 6 days or the long-term one, but a couple of thousand people visiting this thing, I think they are voting for it because they're going to go to it. So we've got 19 people in organisations that are self-serving saying no, and a couple of thousand people saying yes. So I think we should take that on board.
Thank you, Councillor King. There's a question from Councillor Cameron. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you to the most appropriate member of staff. As councillors will be aware, there's been a number of emails from the planning staff in the last few days, and there's been some meetings and considerations since last Monday when this was discussed at committee. Very importantly, there's been a meeting between some of the objectors and the SSNA, and I'm concerned that if we vote for this motion, that those developments won't be reflected. Specifically, I'm talking about, it was my understanding that the SSNA was willing to have a motion go through that where we approve the food truck festival element, for example.
It's a separate.
I believe you.
It's not this DA, it's the next
Oh,
It's a
shit, I'm
separate-
ahead of myself.
DA.
Okay. So in this case, as insofar as this motion, if we vote for this, my question is simply this: if we vote for this motion, does it reflect the latest state of negotiations between the parties?
Mr. Keys.
Through you, Mr Mayor, a number of requests were made of the proponents in regards to both applications. Specifically in regards to this, a request was made not to proceed with the development. That hasn't been acquiesced or agreed to. What was agreed to by the SSNA Club in response to the request put forward was that they were happy to accept a cap of 300 people in terms of using this space at any point in time. That's been included in amended conditions or draft conditions of consent for Council's consideration, and that's the only change that's been proposed at this point in time.
Specifically this part of it, or this DA, that's been modified to reflect the 300?
Mr Mayor, that's correct.
I saw an email, if I could, Mr Mayor, through you. I saw an email today from the parties discussing whether a security guards could be provided to enforce that 300, but I really can't think of any other way the club would do that except through security or staff.
Through you, Mr Mayor, in the discussions was indicated that the SSNA Club, through their own operations, would manage the number of people, and that would have to require somebody to man the door or entry and exit or access to that area. How that is managed by them would be up to their own management.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keys. I have a speaker for Councillor Vanderman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's been a lot of angst in the community with like businesses and maybe businesses that supply to organisations like the SSNA Club. But the issue here is, and has been since the outset, is that we cannot take into consideration issues around this providing competition for the similar type businesses in and around the SSNA Club. It is not something that the legislation allows us to do. The other issue that is very germane to this development application is the fact that the SSNA Club already has a development application for an alfresco dining area approved by council for up to 300 people in an alfresco area in the same location. So from my perspective, the 300 limit on the number of people in this reflects the fact that they've already got a DA that allows them to have up to 300 people in an alfresco area. And so I think that's an appropriate condition of consent. The other one, I think, around the security staff, I think that they would be subject to any laws and regulations around the supply of liquor, supply of alcohol, as far as what security they need to have in that particular area. So for those three reasons, I think that this is the only way that we can go with this particular application is to approve it with those conditions attached. So I have no hesitation in supporting this particular development application.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderman. Councillor Thurley, Speaker 4.
Yes, somewhat reluctantly. Unlike Councillor King, do not see food trucks as just a 100% benefit. However, in this context, Councillor Vanderven has raised the issue that they already have a development consent for a 300-seat alfresco dining area. And on that basis would probably, if they were refused this consent, would probably have very strong arguments to go to another tribunal to seek a review if we made a decision to refuse. And that's always something that a councillor must weigh up, whether you're prepared to make a decision that can be challenged and cost the council money. It's not the only factor that I consider. However, on this occasion, there is evidence that the SSNA Club have paid attention to the concerns within the community, and I hope that they are still listening carefully. And with respect to supplies and suppliers and operators of food trucks, they look very carefully at what the local people have to offer. Local suppliers, Councillor King said it's not about bakers and butchers. I want them to look at our bakers and butchers and suppliers and do the best for the community, given that they are competing with established businesses, but to try to do whatever they can to give their business to the local community. Councillor King has strongly pushed the issues of local providers of services, and I hope on this occasion he would speak just as strongly to the SSNA Club that they give any of the business that comes from this to locals as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Question from Councillor Vanderven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you to relevant member of staff. It was mentioned before that the number of 300 maximum in this space was in part of the development consent, but I have been looking at the development consent reference 42256 endure state of consent, and it's a draft policy. I don't notice that particular item in there. Are we able to be assured that that will be in there on the basis of the discussions we've had tonight?
Mr Keys.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll apologise in advance for the confusion. In the documents circulated to Council on Saturday morning, I believe they were, as the addendum to this report were amended draft conditions of consent, and condition A9 specifically includes a provision, so they won't be included in the docs on tap. They're in a separate email. They are available on Council's website as part of the agenda for tonight's information or tonight's meeting, and they are certainly available for the public to review and look at prior to the meeting, but they were circulated in a separate email over the weekend.
Thank you, Mr Keys. I have another speaker for Councillor Con.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I did deliberate over this for quite some time, given the level of opposition that we received. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's fair for us to get into any kind of comparison between the characters of the opponent or the proponent. I don't think that's relevant. But I think what is relevant is that we have to consider the long-term benefit of the whole community when we look at these things. Overwhelmingly, the response I got from the wider community on this issue was that it was something they wanted to see us try in Albury. And I certainly hope that the opponents who were basing their response on speculation were incorrect. I hope that their fears are allayed and that this is a success, but I'm trying to keep the wider community in mind.
Thank you, Councillor Con. Councillor Doxey, Speaker 4.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My concern was the duration originally, but I thought long and hard about this. I sat down at a meeting last Monday, and because this is purely a planning issue, I said to the members, for me, I need to have something substantial to vote against the motion, against the DA. And that was either A, if it was a parking matter, insufficient parking, or it was a problem in relation to noise, or it was a problem in relation to the environment, the impact of smoke or something like that. Nothing was substantial to me to be able to sit there quite clearly and say, I will vote against the DA. I can't. It's unfortunate. However, I've made my mind up, and my mind is I will vote for the recommendation for the DA. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doxey. We have no further speakers for. I have a question from Councillor Cameron.
Look, just one question, and that is, during the course of consideration of this, the subject of renovations was introduced into the discussions. If I could ask a question through you to the most appropriate member of staff, just to be absolutely clear for the record, that the club is trialling once a 6-month period. And they are doing that, as I now understand it, and I'd like you to correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Keys, as an economic venture, as a business proposition, not because of renovations to kitchen.
Mr. Keys.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, following the community forum and issues or questions around that point of view, we sought clarification from the SSNA, and they have provided that and indicated that their renovations will occur approximately the start of February, and that this operation consent is sought for this operation prior to that date. But it is not solely just to do as a process without the renovations occurring. Both an opportunity for them to provide additional facilities and services at their venue, but also to enable them to continue to operate their current facility during a time of major renovations.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Thank you, Mr. Keys. Councillor Keane, do you wish to close debate on the...
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I will. Well, this is good. I look at this as a pilot program for something new in Albury. This type of activity has been going on for a while in the suburbs of Melbourne and regional centres such as Bendigo, Ballarat and Chuka and Yarrawonga. The SSNA are taking the risk with this. They're the ones who are putting this initiative up. They've obviously spent a lot of time and money to get to the DA stage, and then they're going to set it up. So we don't have to do anything other than go or not go and visit and enjoy the area. Give the message to the wider community who are saying they want to get out and about, and I'm very happy that this has got up.
Councillor King hasn't got up yet. So, Council will be voting under a development application. I'll be asking for a division. All those in favour? Councillor Suttery, Councillor Doxey, Councillor Cameron, Councillor Mack, Councillor Con, Councillor King, Councillor Thurley and Councillor Vandervan. The motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor King. Moving on to the second item in relation to the same venue, CM 14.3, Development Application 10.2017.35677.1, Outdoor Event, Food Truck Festival, Albury SSNA Club 576, Olive Street. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Council receive and note the contents of the report, and B, grant consent to development application 10.217.35677.1 for a food truck festival at lots 1 and 2 DP 10904600576 Olive Street, Albury, subject to the conditions contained in the draft determination as shown as attachment 6 to the report.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Councillor Con.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to second it.
Thank you. I've got a question first. Councillor Thurley, you happy for me to take the question? Councillor Cameron, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's simply that my documents are not updating, and I'm having some trouble figuring out exactly which version we're up to now. Can I just confirm that this is the version that of the result of the fruit of the most recent discussions between the objectors and the club, which proposes that the festival component is approved, but there's an assurance that it won't take place over Christmas and it'll come back after February with 14 days notice, and the staff will deal with it under delegation.
Mr. Keys.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, following the discussions and subsequent agreement by the SSNA Club to requests from local businesses, they have confirmed that they do not wish to operate the food truck festival between Christmas and New Year. They've agreed to a period in which it will be held between the 1st of February and the 30th of April. That's been proposed to Council in the draft conditions of consent, specifically A4, which limits the time period to occur between that period, including also the provision of 14 days notice to any adjoining businesses or properties, including local residents.
Councillor Cameron, you comfortable with that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, do you wish to open debate?
Briefly, and thank you, Councillor Cameron, for the question, because it, without that clarification or without the agreement of SSNA, I would not have moved to approve this DA. I would have moved that we refuse it. And so, at least on this score, SSNA has listened to the concerns of the local traders and business people and have come back with a much better alternative. That is, they will choose a time when there's a significant event or events occurring in Albury and there would be a higher demand for this thing. And on that basis, I was happy to move the motion. I would not have moved it without that amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Councillor Cameron, your light was pressed to speak for. Is that which
It must have been my cufflink, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. There appears to be no further speakers for or against. Councillor Thurley, do you wish to say close the debate?
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Further division, councillors, hold your hands. All those in favour of Councillor Stutchbury, Councillor Doxey, Councillor Cameron, Councillor Mack, Councillor Con, Councillor King, Councillor Thurley and Councillor Vanderven. The motion is carried and can turn to the chamber. Thanks. No. Oh, no. Thank you, councillors. Let the records reflect that Councillor Glacken has returned to the chamber. CM 14.4, Joint Aquatics Management Expression of Interest. Councillor Vanderven, did you wish to open?
I'd like to move a recommendation as a motion that Council A proceed with the selective tendering process to appoint a contractor to provide management and operation of Albury and Wodonga aquatics facilities from 1 July 2018 for a contract period of 5 years, and B, invite Aligned Leisure, Belgravia Leisure and YMCA to tender for management and operation of Albury and Wodonga aquatics facilities.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Councillor Thurley?
That was Councillor Vanderven, by the way.
Oh, Councillor Vanderven. Oh, my God. Good day.
Happy to second the motion as Councillor Thurley.
I won't point out the physical difference between the two.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderven. Did you wish to open debate?
I would, and obviously this is the first tangible evidence of the increased cooperation between the Wodonga and Albury City Councillors, and it is with great pleasure then that I move this, and I think that the panel that's been involved with this has been a joint from both Wodonga and from Albury City Councils, and the recommendation makes a lot of sense. There's all of the companies that have been shortlisted appear to be able to do the job and have done the job in other areas satisfactorily, including obviously locally. So I look forward to seeing where the tenders fall when and if they arrive. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderven. There appears to be no other discussion or debate. Councillor Vanderven, did you wish to close debate on that item?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So I'm happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. CM 14.5. Updates on the impacts of the New South Wales biodiversity legislation, changes to the biodiversity certification of the Albury Local Environment Plan. Councillor Con.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that Council A notes the update on the biodiversity reforms and B endorses the following preferred options. Number 1, with respect to the biodiversity offset scheme mapping, endorse option 2, rely on listed criteria that includes the minimum area thresholds comparative to lot size, the OEH sensitive biodiversity values map and land affected by specified SEPs, as well as seeking to include Albury City's sensitive biodiversity values mapping. 2, in lieu of changes to clause 5.9 and 5.9 AA of the LEP and provisions for vegetation management, modify Albury City's current tree removal request form to include E, RE and RU zoned land. 3, with respect to native vegetation regulatory mapping, rely on OEH and LLS listed criteria to identify when clearing on rural lands would trigger the requirement for approval under the LLSA, as well as seeking to include all rural zoned land within the Albury LGA that contains state and federally listed endangered ecological communities in the regulatory mapping.
Thank you, Councillor Con. Councillor Thurley?
I second the motion, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Con, do you wish to open debate?
Thank you. If I've got any air left. Firstly, to say that the removal of the Native Vegetation Act by the state government was an absolute travesty, but that's obviously outside the control of Albury Council. Given the terrible changes that have been made to biodiversity legislation at a state level, I believe the staff have done an excellent job of identifying areas where Albury City can attempt to fill in those gaps and do the best that we can. I'm deeply concerned about the potential that we'll lose the ability to control offset planting in our own local government area. And also concerned about there's an uncertainty about whether grassy boxgum woodland is going to be classified as sensitive or not. I'm really glad that the staff are on top of those issues and I support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Con. There appears to be no further question or debate. Councillor Con, did you wish to say any further?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I'm happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. No officers' reports for noting. Delegates' reports for noting. TM 16.1, 2017 National Local Roads and Transport Congress. Councillor Vandervan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And can I move that Council receive and note the 2017 Roads Congress attendance report by myself and request that we action the list of actions as stated 1 to 7.
Thank you, Councillor Vandervan. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Just have a question before we open debate, Councillor Vandervan.
Yep.
2 questions. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you to Councillor Vandervan and Councillor Thurley, I would like to ask if Councillor Vandervan might adapt his recommendation ever so slightly, such that it would the effect would be that we receive and note the report and that the 7 action points be discussed at an upcoming workshop.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Councillor Vandervan, your position on that?
I'm happy for people to have some discussions around this if they see fit. But I didn't think that there was too much in there that would warrant like a workshop. It's not in my. I don't think there's any actions there apart from writing some letters to people that are. I would like to see this stand as is. If we have a problem with any of these, well, maybe withdraw them separately and discuss them. But I don't think there's anything in here that would warrant the time of a workshop to thrash out.
Thank you, Councillor Vandervan. Councillor Glacken, do you have anything further to add?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vandervan, did you wish to open debate on this?
Look, yes. As I indicated at the very start of my report, that I believe that this is one of the most productive congresses that I've attended. I have attended a couple, and I haven't been to every one, but I think that it is very productive to go every 2 or 3 years because it establishes that networks of people that you can actually ring up and talk to about issues. I met obviously the chairman of or the president of the Australian Local Government Association, and he's a very impressive person. I'm sure that you've met him as well and would maybe concur with that view. But look, all I'm trying to do with the actions is to basically to cover both sides of the political fence, and that is the issues that have been dealt with and been supported by ALGA are around the roads to recovery funding, the return of indexation, the continuation of black spot funding, and the other programs which I did send an email to or a message to the General Manager, Mr Zachnich, about, which was the round 2 of the Building Better Regions Fund, which was announced as opening on that particular day. So from the perspective that we want to make sure that our local federal member understands how critical that these funding streams are to local government, and that Mr Albanese, the Shadow Minister for Transport, has also had a long-standing support for these funding streams. And we need to make sure that we enunciate that to him on the basis of that, should there be, God forbid, a change of government at the next election, that he at least understands that we would like these streams, we would really, not like, but we really must have these streams of funding continuing for local government. And then around the issue, the last item was, I understand we've already registered 3 projects, but I think formally respond to the ALGA around the support for the proposal about the community building projects that is discussed in the body of the report. So I was really taken with the presentation from Houston Kemp, and whilst that's not putting us into any, the motion is not putting us into any expenditure at this stage, I really would like the staff to investigate how, and I firmly believe that the tool we would be investing in would be invaluable for our planners and engineers well into the future, with traffic counts, traffic speeds, congestion issues, etc. And on the basis of the fact that we're always asking for more money for road funding from state and federal, we would be in a position of providing evidence-based material for those submissions. And I think that that's critical in any future funding opportunities that we might come across.
Thank you, Councillor
Thank you, Mr.
Vanderven.
Mayor.
I have a question from Councillor Stutchbury. Councillor Stutchbury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Vanderven, for your report. And I just had a question relating to the thought-provoking presentation by Andrew Rees regarding stormwater. Yep. I just wondered how the issue of stormwater relates to National Local Roads and Transport Congress.
Local roads is the issue is, and the slogan there is the more you pave, the more you pay. And obviously roads are things around that we do pave, and obviously stormwater from roads is a significant issue in our community. So that's how relevant that was as far as the Roads Congress was concerned. But in terms of infrastructure around transport, around local government, we're always talking about things like funding for things, and I think it's important that we actually consider perhaps funding stormwater infrastructure the same way as we fund water and wastewater infrastructure at the moment. But that's how it relates to the transport portfolio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderven. I have a speaker against, Councillor Conn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I do reluctantly speak against, just on process. With respect to Councillor Vanderven, I commend his attendance and the report. But given that he wouldn't accept the amendment from Councillor Glacken, I'm now going to speak against. I don't believe it's customary for councillors to include 7 action items in a report back from a conference. And I've also been told that the Mayor making representation to higher levels of government has to be consistent with the current policies of Council. I don't think that any of the items there are particularly controversial, and I'm sure they would be agreed in a workshop. But I don't necessarily think this is the way to get them through, particularly including the item about software. I've been led to believe that $15,000 is a significant amount of money, and that's the cost there.
Thank you, Councillor Conn. Speaker 4, Councillor Doxey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm quite surprised that someone would challenge someone's right to write a report. But anyway, that's beside the point. You're entitled to say that, Councillor Con. I think it's a good report. I think there are sound recommendations. And I'm sure that Councillor Vanderveen took the opportunity to have a go at someone about no left turns on reds and, of course, duration at traffic lights and the no U-turns at Young Street. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Doxey. Councillor Vanderman, do you wish to close debate?
Look, on the basis of I'd like to get full support for this. On the basis of the feedback that I've had from Councillors Glacken and Councillor Con, I'm happy to move an amendment that, or to amend my original motion to say that we receive and note the report and bring the proposed action plan to a workshop for further consideration. If the seconder would happy to second that, I'd
Happily agree.
Thank you.
Second is happy to do it, Councillor Vanderman, and that is the motion to council. Those in favour of that motion, put your hand up. Thanks. Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Vanderman, for your very comprehensive report. Okay, notices of urgent business. We have none that I'm aware of. Thanks, Councillor Cameron. In relation to confidential matters, I need a mover to move us into confidential. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Have you got an item? You have two notices of urgent business.
General Manager to make you aware of it today.
Thank you. Sorry that for that, councillors. Apparently there was a communication error. Councillor Cameron, your two matters of urgent business. You have the floor.
Thanks. Very simply, I would like to highlight the issue of the strange classification of Edamoga Rise, the suburb of Edamoga Rise, or the locality of Edamoga Rise, and the fact that it is categorised by the what's the correct name of it? The Geographical Names Board as being Springdale Heights. Now, I don't know if staff have heard about this, but
Is this an urgent matter?
Yes, it is.
Councillor
Absolutely,
Cameron?
it's urgent.
And what is the point of urgency?
It's creating a fiscal impost on the residents in that area. And I'd simply ask that be the subject of a report at a workshop or to a committee or council at some point in the future.
Thank you. And what's your second item?
The second item is that once again we have workshops, and no disrespect to our visitors, but we have workshops scheduled on the night of council. And I had thought as a group we had reached a consensus some time ago that workshops would not be, and you as Mayor would not set workshops on the night of council, on full council meetings. But once again, we've got workshops on tonight after council. And I don't think it's a productive practice, and I think we should, as a group, reach consensus that we have them on other nights.
So, Councillor Cameron, would you like to discuss in the workshop following this council meeting?
No, I'd like to do it now.
You'd like to do it now?
Yeah.
So, okay. Did you wish to move that we not do that, or did you wish just to have
I'd
it?
just like to raise the issue as I rose the first issue, which is very important and urgent.
Yes.
And I'd like to say to you, please stop doing it.
So, did you want to have that discussion, though, Councillor Cameron, with
Well,
the
we
council?
just had it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for those urgent items. Back to our confidential matters. Councillors, can I have someone move us, please? Councillor Doxey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that we move into confidential.
Could
That
you
council move into confidential to discuss items CM 18.1 and CM 18.2, as these are confidential items exclusive of the press or public on the grounds that the matters relate to information that would be, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage to a person with whom the council is conducting, brackets on, or purposes to conduct, brackets off, purpose, brackets on, Local Government Act, figures 1993, number 30, section 10 alpha, brackets on 2, bracket, Charlie, brackets off, brackets off.
Repeat.
So again, over.
Thank you, Councillor Doxey. Councillor Thurley. Councillor Thurley, you happy to second that?
Yes. Mr. Mayor.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Con?
That's actually not the correct motion. That's the letter A and the letter C. Alpha might refer to a Greek character that's not present in this motion.
I'm happy to accept that Councillor Doxey was referring to the letter and not to the correct pronunciation and phonetics. I would have thought a man of your tenure would have done the alpha. Okay, so I must advise that are there any statements or submissions from the public regarding the reasons identified for these confidential items, CM 18.1 and CM 18.2? There being no submissions, if the community or public could leave the chamber and we proceed with the motion. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Council closed at 8:19.
And this is not as long as it actually knows. When we come to that item in the workshop, do I need to fill out a form?
hasn't brought it back, has it?
No.
Just recorded in there. Anyway, what was the result? He's going to jump out when we come up to that bit in the
Oh, there we go. See now.
Okay. Welcome back to Open Council. During confidential, we resolved CM 18.1 curbside waste collection update, moved by Councillor Glack and seconded by Councillor Doxey. A, consent to Cleanaway's request and authorise the General Manager to negotiate a variation to the curbside waste collection contract conditional on the following. 1, EPA approval to continue the shredding and decontamination activities at the Albury Waste Management Centre for a period up to the conclusion of the contract 30th of June 2024. 2, the expression of interest process completion timeframe to be set at 12 months. 2 or 3, responsibilities for costs associated with any relocation of infrastructure at the Albury Waste Management Centre is required to be clarified based on circumstances. B, amend the relevant contract documentation to reflect this variation. And C, authorise the General Manager to affix the seal to that documentation. That motion was carried. The second item, 18.2, Land Acquisition Opportunity, Part Lot 27 DP 1014850, moved by Councillor Glack and seconded by Councillor Thurley. The Council authorise the General Manager to negotiate Council's acquisition of Part Lot 27 DP 1014850 and present a further report for Council's consideration. The matter was carried. Thank you, councillors. There are no further items for discussion and the meeting is closed at 8:29. Thank you. And now we have a short break before we go into the workshop, public workshop.